trade war if you surrender in advance? Because we are seeing a fast move of Donald Trump, who has talked a lot of bluster, and it's not just politics, and it's not just in the United States. We have seen markets internationally and foreign leaders have to deal with what a sitting president says, even if they don't think it's all 100% on the level. So there was a lot of threats from Trump about tariffs, started in on some tariffs, but immediately President Trump going wobbly as the outcry extends from Wall Street to many conservatives, Republicans, Main Street, small business, people concerned about it, the international part I mentioned, and all of it a direct response to what he said are going to be his tariff plans. The stock market, which Trump has played up and emphasized more perhaps than, say, liberals or progressive critics, is negative, wiping out all gains since his inauguration, new jobs data, below expectations. So just take a minute here and think about what we have. This is not a game. This is not a drill. This is real people's lives. And I've told you before, campaign's over. Campaign promises are over. A large section of that speech last night may have sounded like a lot of campaign rhetoric and spin and some lies that have been fact-checked. But this is governing time. And these are real people affected. And for all of the campaign talk about prices and inflation or the vibe session, there was an effort, maybe not perfect, because we covered problems with inflation at the time, but there was an effort to try to deal with that. In other words, you had a United States government focused on what was real problems, which you can hold President Biden accountable for. Now you have a United States government led by President Trump, which across these 6 weeks is not doing basic steps to try to bring prices down, has not held summits, meetings, let alone submitted legislation to battle prices and inflation, and is actually taking measures that at least the stock market and a lot of other indicators say are bad for consumers. Now take it to the conservative Wall Street Journal. Quote, the next president inherits a remarkable economy, basically arguing that for all the problems I just mentioned, things could improve. Wall, now you have Trump watching prices up, egg prices up, people smuggling eggs in from Mexico, 158% rise on that if you monitor that kind of thing. It's not a good sign for a country as wealthy as ours that you have to smuggle eggs because they've become so pricey because everything is topsy-turvy. And the tariffs don't help. It's the opposite of those campaign vows I mentioned. Trump did say tariffs could cause a disturbance and an adjustment period. Here's his commerce chief. Take a listen.
There's going to be, as the president said on the campaign trail, there may well be short-term price movements, but in the long term, it's going to be completely different.
The sound you are hearing is a rich elite person trying to spin you on something that you're living through. You know what it looks like when there's inflation. You know what it looks like when prices go up. You know what it looks like when prices are too high. So when you have MAGA elites with all their money using their smug, fancy Wall Street language about short-term price movements, well, we want to put it to the George Carlin test. A comic who, like so many other artists, could cut right through it. And he, without fear or favor for any party, it was an ideological thing, talked about the BS of language, how people obscure meaning. He even has a great riff on the evolution of the phrase shell shock.
In the First World War, that condition was called shell shock. Simple, honest, direct language. Then a whole generation went by, and the Second World War came along, and the very same combat condition was called battle fatigue. Then we had the war in Korea in 1950, and the very same combat condition was called operational exhaustion. Then, of course, came the war in Vietnam, that the very same condition was called post-traumatic stress disorder. And the pain is completely buried under jargon.
The pain, the reality of failed economic policies, the risks that people like President Trump and Elon Musk are taking that will fall on other people, that's all being obstructed by this made-up language, these price adjustments from the very people who told you they were against the PC language police.